On Wednesday, the National Museum of Mathematics will hold an online discussion that will involve some of the top leaders in the country in STEM, which stands for science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. John Urschel is someone who played offensive line at Penn State University. He went on to become a fifth-round draft pick of the Baltimore Ravens, with whom he played for 3 seasons before retiring. He did so with bachelor's and master's degrees in mathematics in hand from his time at Penn State, and he will serve as the host of that online STEM discussion next week. I spoke with Urschel earlier this afternoon.
Every football player knows that eventually there's a time where, your career comes to an end and you've got a lot of life left, hopefully, and you need something to fall back on, something to do for the rest of your life. And so in that way, academics really matter, and I'm lucky that I found math, something I'm very passionate about, and I find it very important to advocate for others, especially those who are interested in sports, who like things like football and basketball, not to forget that academics are really important and actually quite interesting.
So I mentioned at the top of the segment that you played 3 seasons in the NFL. Most players, I think in all sports for the most part, have to be dragged off the field of competition. You retired after 3 seasons. For those unaware, why did you decide to pull the plug on your football career after 3 seasons?
To focus on a career in mathematics, actually. So while I was playing in the NFL, I was actually starting to pursue my Ph.D. in mathematics at MIT at the same time. And at some point, I really came to sort of realize that math is the thing that I'm most excited about these days, and I decided to focus fully on being a mathematician, getting my PhD from MIT, and also raising my daughter. And I can happily say that my daughter is, growing up very nicely, and this year I'm actually finishing my PhD. So this is my 5th year.
And so John, currently a 5th-year math PhD student at the illustrious MIT, so you will be Dr. Urschel in due time. Congratulations in advance. So you mentioned that a primary reason for this online discussion is to help young black people become more aware about STEM. I have to ask, with that in mind, what drew you to mathematics? What was the basis for your love of math?
That's a great question. I personally believe that a lot of people have a fundamental love of mathematics, and at some point they get told math isn't for you, or math isn't fun, or math is hard. And I find that for me, the biggest thing is I just didn't have people telling me that. As a kid, I always loved solving puzzles. I loved, doing little Sudoku puzzles, logic puzzles, things like that. And I came to realize that what math is fundamentally at its core is it's this quantitative language that helps us make sense of the world we live in. And it's really a language that's useful for problem solving. And I would say that it's really a beautiful subject, and I think that a lot of people shut off this sort of area, math and STEM more broadly, because they sort of start to believe that this isn't a field they can succeed in or something that's for them. And I really like to push back against that notion.
John Urschel is a trustee of MoMath, whose online visitors have reached more than 30,000 visitors from all 50 states and 95 different countries. So much more than just an athlete. Laverne, I knew that you would love that story, so I made sure to include that in our segment this particular hour.
Anthony, I did love that, and I appreciate it. And you know what? You may have changed somebody's life, because honestly, when people hear that, especially people of color in particular, right now there's a shortage of black and brown people in the STEM fields, science, technology, engineering, and math. And that's truly the foundation of what society is built on, believe it or not. And exactly what he said, this fear that's instilled in people from a very young age. In fact, when you meet people from other countries, particularly Asia, I went to school in Canada, as you know, and I studied with people from around the world. I went to a top engineering school because I wanted to be an engineer at one time. And they have a love of math and a respect for math. Unfortunately, in America, it seems to be one of those things where it's looked at as math is not fun, or it's not cool, or it's too hard. But everybody has the ability to do math, and math is the foundation, like I said, of the universe. I could go on and on because, you know, I'm into quantum physics and all that kind of stuff. But to hear a football player talking about this, I think a lot of young people would listen to him, and they would look up to him and say, hey, if he can play in the NFL and also do your PhD at MIT, wow, that's pretty cool. So I think I love this story, Anthony, but I think you really did a great service by giving us his story and letting people hear that, because that may be what it takes for a young person in school to say, you know what, I'm going to try this, and it could change their life.
He's a great example, and our thanks to John Urschel. What I'd be interested in is getting you and John Urschel into a room with a blackboard. He had a blackboard there in the background in the room from which he was speaking with us. Get you two to just solve some equations for a good few hours. That would be fun. That would be fun.
He would beat me. He's doing his PhD at MIT. His league's way out of. I'm not in his league.
All right. Well, more of our conversation, by the way, tonight on BNC Prime, starting at 7 Eastern. Stay